So remember when I was saying there was a seam where they did a quarter? I found it. Voila. Okay, this is gonna be, I should have done this like a long time ago, but it's gonna be a lot easier to straighten this thing out and get it how it should be. Needs to go out that way, however you want to word that. Yes. There's the spider. Indeed. So here's a fun one. This is the, I guess the nut that should be welded onto the bumper. And it was gooped on, and it's also cross-threaded. Well, that's about all I can reach. Let's see if that's enough. So this is what's supposed to be there. And that's our version. It is there. It's just, yeah, probably came off in the wreck or something. Let's see what we can do about it. Well, I wouldn't say it's pretty. Also don't know how well that's really doing what we want. Not sure how well you can see, but that lower section is definitely flatter like it's supposed to be. So that's a good start. If I set this taillight in here, it's kind of sitting in here okay until we get to this section. I'm going to mark where it starts to deviate off course. And this is no doubt from all of the pulling and stretching I was doing with my engine hoist and whatnot, but now we gotta try to correct it again. So I'd say from here, that area. and it needs to come down. Also, that corner is a little tight. What's up, kitty? So I just used hand snips to cut out this top template. For starters, I just put it in the vise and did a little bit of it just to make sure I did my markings kind of right. And that's about right. We're a little tall and a little long, which is what I want. A little bit of extra that I can trim off. So I'm gonna take this compass and attempt to keep it in the right spot so that I can just trace my line right there. So it's not 100% straight on the line, but I just used my vise, which is straight. So, but when we set it here, now we're floating up high. So this one needs to stretch, and I think this should be okay. But this needs to shrink. It needs to shrink. So you can see that helped get the curve back in. We may have done it in the wrong spots, but at least we can start figuring it out. I think I overshrunk this side. It's kind of ironic, so I was worried we weren't going to have a good time shrinking it. So I need to stretch some of that back out on this top one. To about here. And then this is going to curve up, and that's going to curve up. Alright, I've been working this thing back and forth for a little while now. Shrinking, stretching, marking, testing. And I think I've got it basically where I need it. It's sitting there, so that tells you one thing. Yeah, I'm not going to do any more than that, or I'm going to get myself into trouble. The thing about these shrinker stretchers, they do work, but you can see they put these lines because they either grab or pull. And if you do it enough, you can fatigue the metal and tear it. So I've marked my lower template for basically kind of minimum necessary. So like down here, that's the other panel, so I think I'm gonna go like right here. And then I'll keep the bottom and try to make that the best I can. It should go lower than there, but I'm hoping this little stretch won't be too crazy to make. Yeah, that should be enough. There, from here to here. This side is better than the other side. Alright, so again, I'm trying to use this to kind of flatten and maybe even stretch it a little bit so it's cooperating a little more. Try to undo some of that twist. And then also we can compare it with the piece it's actually intended to match up with. And it's close, it's not exact, which is probably this being a bigger issue than the other one. Yeah, I'm just going for it. Well, I had to get a new bottle of gas, and I decided to do myself a favor while I was at it and put my welder on the other cart that I had so I could actually get it out to the car better. Ignore this stuff, just overspray on places I didn't prep. But I finished welding it up, grinding it down. Whether you can see it or not on camera, in person, it's pretty obvious that it's a DIY patch job. It's not beautiful. It's quite obvious. But ultimately, the license plate goes here, the rubber seal goes here, and the trunk lid goes here. So you'll see parts of it when you open up the trunk lid, but you don't really see that much of it. So it's plenty good for our needs. like, most of the work I did gets covered up. It's more about having the thing not leak and having a place for the seal to actually do its job and all of that stuff. Granted, it's still split right here, so it will probably still leak a little unless we do something about that. But, you know, the seal covers that much of it, and the license plate covers almost the rest of it. Which, ironically, the only part you really see is the part that I messed up the most. But, you know, that's what's visible. And this section here ended up being a little too long. So, the part you can actually see is, of course, the ugliest part. The only ways I could really fix that I'm even remotely willing to consider would be cutting it and kind of welding it and basically making a really thick weld that I can sculpt, which I really don't care to do. I might be able to kind of hammer things more into place, but it would probably just be a lot of work to make it not really any better. So I don't think I care that much. And the only thing I haven't done is set the trunk lid on to see what that looks like. But the other thing is I just don't really care. Again, I think in person it's more obvious. I think this might be hitting, or maybe the trunk lid sits out farther. It's kind of not obvious, but anyway, if you're sitting in traffic and the guy behind you does body work, I'm sure he'll figure it out. But any other random person, I don't think they would notice. These hinges, I took this piece of cardboard and pressed it against the gap here to try to get a dirty trace, and that worked actually pretty well. So I'm going to cut that out and start making a template for that piece. This one's a little simpler. This one is a little trickier because it rested into all the curves. So I just kind of put these in the vise and bent them down a bit. Now I'm going to take the jaws of the vise on these kind of two higher peaks and then hit along here to try to bring it down a bit. This spot does have a peak where I marked it, or maybe close to where I marked it. I might need to adjust that, but it peaks and also tucks down, so do a fresh peak here, and this is a tuck, and this is a kind of a bend down. For our purposes, I think this is enough where we can tack it in place and kind of bodywork it once it's on from here. I just need to drill the holes for the bottom plate that mounts to here, and then this guy, get that attached to that piece. Build a hole on each side of the drain that I can tack the thing together with. Alright, those are welded on, so now I can kind of clamp it into place on there and start welding it. So this filled okay, but this area is still a little rusty and burning through, so that's getting a little sloppy, and then also the heat's pulling things, so I gotta do a little massaging to get this stuff kind of back where it needs to be. Pretty silly looking, but that's alright. Alright, I mean, it's not gonna fool anyone in terms of it never having been repaired, but it should do the trick. I almost left all the welds. I was just gonna leave them, because why you don't need to grind them down, it doesn't matter. But this, I'm pretty sure, does need to be ground down to help fit. So then once I started doing that, I kind of got carried away. Alright, I used snips and just traced around my little pattern. Alright, that one's in. I've got to grind it down, but it's in place. See, there's areas where it burned through. And in general, kind of had to do my thin sheet metal special of extra speed, low voltage, and quick short tacks that you kind of build on each other. But anyway, because the other side's ground down, I'll grind this one down. Probably not as far as I went with this one. I'll probably do it kind of more like this, where I'll take it down but leave a little bit just for some extra strength, because I think this was getting kind of thin. Well, of course, I didn't listen to myself, and I got greedy with the grinding and wanted it to look better and disappear and all that stuff, and then ground a little too thin, had to fill a couple spots and all that, but we're done. So I was noticing that this is actually raised up, so I basically just took a magnet, held it up a little higher and bridged it, and then filled around it. So I am going to grind this side and probably the top, and I think I don't care about the rest. Well, surprise, surprise, I couldn't help myself. I went a little further than I meant to, but good enough. Okay, so now we have a place for the rubber foot. Got our hinge bracket mount things. This one's a little wobbly, that's fine. We've got this piece. Again, I didn't do all of it, but enough to hold the thing together, and should be able to put a latch on. And this is on now, so still gotta do that stuff, but good progress. Alright, trunk lid's on. I don't have the latch hooked in, so that part's irrelevant at the moment. I've been using green. It's the self-etching primer, and then I went to take the cap off and broke the thing off, and it started spewing everywhere, and I had to throw it away, which left me with red oxide, which I guess is appropriate because it's closer to the car color. So trunk lid's on. One thing that may be a challenge is it was really hard to know where the bolts should be, so I got this body line all right, but it looks like it maybe sits a little far forward, and this is with the trunk lid as far down here as it'll go. And then on this side we have no idea because we don't have a quarter to reference, but referencing off of this line, it sticks out a little more on this side in order to get this line to look about right. So it's possible when we get this quarter on, we're going to notice that everything is maybe to one side or the other. And at this point, it's not really going to be easy to, like, I don't want to cut out those things I just put in and move them over. So if we need to adjust anything at this point, we will just hog out these. They're already slotted this way, but we'll just make the hole bigger so there's more adjustment to the hinges themselves, and that'll solve our problems. It's not like the most proper way in terms of, it would be like, it'd be nice to not mess with the hinges, but given the scenario here, it's fine. Oh, it's 'cause there's actually glue at the bottom one. Okay. It's just the glue sticking. So that's our rear glass out. So this area is pitted. Doesn't look like it's through. This needs to get cut and remade. And yeah, that looks really good. That's good news. Well, you can see where they braze it here. This is not rusted through. It is pitting, and it looks like moisture got behind the either the brazing or seam sealing, whatever goes on there. This paint's good, factory paint, I'm assuming, and I don't want to mess with it. I want to avoid messing with it because it looks really good. So I think what I'm going to try to do is just make a little patch here, keep it small and simple, make this piece, same thing, kind of keep it small and simple, do it in little bite-sized chunks and try to preserve as much of this as I can. This needs to get treated and maybe, I don't know exactly what I want to do with it. I don't want to try making it because I already know that I'm not going to do a great job at that, but I think it just needs to be treated and maybe filled a little bit and then painted, something like that. This side looks really good. Nothing wrong with it that I can see. It's dirty, but that's it. Just dirt. So that's most of it there, and then I want to make a note for myself of where the corrosion stops, which is about here. It's not exact, but I just marked the backside, stuck it in there and hit it with that, and that'll do. Close enough. Now I'm just cleaning up these, or straightening up these edges so that I can clean them up. Needs to be, it's concave and it needs to actually be almost convex in a way. Alright, we're getting there. In this process I have kind of done a bit of trimming the wrong things a few times and made my gaps not at all what I had in mind. So I think what I want to do, just because why not, I can, is I'm going to mark try to mark this little area and just make a little piece that goes underneath. Okay, well, we're basically done for now. I need to get in with a different tool and clean those areas up, and I actually probably need to fill it more too, just because it was pretty rusty in there, so I was having a hard time. But I'm not really gonna try to make all of that. I'm reaching the end of the life on this thing, as you can see. I have a replacement for it. I've just been avoiding it because when it gets to about this long, it's perfect and I love it. At this point, it's too short and I keep bumping the metal. But when it's new, it's kind of a pain, and well, as you can see, it breaks off over time. And when it's new, the new ones break off and fly into me, and it sucks. Just for reference, this is what it started as. And over time, these just break off and fly into your face and whatnot.